still policy discussed, let's look at the cost of clearing importations now, or imports in Nigeria, as importers and clearing agents operating at Nigeria's ports are groaning now, and they've kicked against the increment in charges by leading French shipping company CMA CGM, stating that the increment will add to economic burden being passed on to the end users of the imported goods across the country. On the side of the French shipping company, they announced an increment in their charges, blaming it on the February adjustment of port and marine fees by the Nigerian Port Authority. Recall that this increment of charges by the NPA and the Nigerian ports happened about 32 years after the last time that increment was done was about 32 years ago. So in February, there was an increase by the NPA in their charges. And so the French company had to say they had to also increase theirs. So now ports and clearing agents are complaining, citing the implications of this on the end users. So you and I are end users, because largely a lot of goods that we consume in Nigeria are imported. Even some of the locally manufactured still have foreign components, maybe raw materials, or even sometimes it's an assemblage that some companies do. So let's look at this. First of all, the NPA increases tariff, and then the ports also increase tariff. The NPA increases charges, ports increases tariff. The shipping company says, yes. So the shipping company says, you increase yours, we also need to increase ours. Is this increase justifiable? Ports agents, clearing agency, this is too much. It will affect our business. More, it will affect the end user. What do we do?
It's quite bothersome, and I don't miss what is saying that. I remember a week or two ago, we had to buy a dongle. And
you bought what?
A dongle, and it was ferrying in through the airports, and the clearing charge was over 2 million, and just 3 flash drives, not weighing up to 4 kg. Clearing fee alone was 2 million plus. So it gives you...
Sorry, I just want to ask, how much was the cost, the purchasing cost of the goods
item
that you were to use 2 million naira to clear?
Yeah, this is what the clearing agents are talking about. Because it's fundamental that when we have a system where almost every agency of government has become a revenue center, where, of course, again, we've not had so much investment in logistics. These are the things that we get. Now, NPA hinges their increase of 15% based on upgrade of infrastructure. And we know, not just NPA, and all the regulators in that environment are making huge sum of money. Why are we just talking about upgrades of infrastructure? There are budgetary allocations that gets into the same places. And just like the other guest has said, I think the bigger problem we contend is actually the value system.
Okay.
Yes, why it is important that we need to rightly price, but this is having an untold hardship effect on the people out there. You buy a vehicle and you're almost clearing it at 100% rate. The cost of purchase and the cost of clearing is almost the same. And why are we doing all of this? Because we want to make so much money for the government. And I think it's unfair, really, on the populace that agencies upon agencies raising rate without paying attention to what happens to the economy at large. And this is actually what makes the economy bleed. Because when people cannot afford it, they will not go for it. And as long as they're not able to do it, a lot of businesses will be suffering.
Okay, so when I have to cast my mind back to one of the questions I posed to a guest when we were having a conversation about importation and how the country is going to enjoy some form of massive benefits from it. I remember asking the question that, look, when the president was the governor of Lagos, I mentioned 14 billion. I was told 600 million he met on ground as IGR, and when he was leaving, they had triple, quadruple, if not.
It was around 14 billion when he was leaving, yeah.
When he was, okay. Yeah. Then when he was leaving, it was around 82, 90 billion when he was leaving.
No, that's currently.
That was it currently.
Yes, that's where it is currently.
Okay, yes. That's where it is currently. So probably it didn't even get to 82 that time.
No. It was around 14.
You took it way. So everybody knows that he is sound in that. Now, he's the chief executive in Nigeria. He is going to make sure that the FIRS, performs optimally, because he is expert in making sure he puts in frameworks in place for us to galvanize tax returns to that effect. But the question that we should ask is this. The ministries, departments, and agencies, the NPA increasing that, do we select items that we are imposing tariff on? Because if we do not select items that we are supposed to impose tariff on, we are going to hurt the Nigerians. We're going to hurt them seriously. One of the things I will give kudos to the former president, Muhammadu Buhari, is this, that he stopped some form of, he banned some items, from coming into the country. Rice was part of them. And even when he banned rice from coming in, the local producers, because they were not producing how much could go around, to Nigerians, how they could not satisfy the demand of rice by local producers. They equally, you have lots of people running after the few number of bags of rice that were produced, even though it was not as clean and as pure as the foreign ones. They took up the prices. So it became as expensive as the foreign ones that were importing into the country. So the problem that former President Muhammadu Buhari was trying to solve, now recurred in another aspect. So the current administration, yes, there is this drive for tariff, for tax. It is good. Why not expand the tax net so that we can harness and bring in people? Why not tax the luxury items? That people who own yachts, people who own private jets in the country. I know probably they are being tasked, but why can't we expand the dragnet to include this? The other question is this. If we are importing technology or we are importing equipment and machineries that will work to the advantage of Nigerian businessmen and manufacturers who have established their manufacturing hub, their plants, and their companies here, and by way of that, they are providing job for the mass populace of Nigerians, and you impose tariff on the importation of this equipment and this technology, they are going to extend it and make sure they put that burden on the shoulders of Nigerians who are the common consumers. So, is the government going to really drive this ship of taxation without paying attention to the yearnings and the purchasing power of the Nigerian public that will be at the receiving end? That's an important question to ask. Why this French company were giving so much excuses, they were telling us about how much it costs for a 40-footer container to be taxed, that it's almost about 25-30% increase in taxation with the new current tax that has been imposed, including both from the Nigerian Customs Service and the Nigerian Ports Authority. The 20-feet container equally has its own price. Now, this is just one company that is reciprocating the tariffs coming from the Nigerian Ports Authority and the Nigerian Customs Service. Other companies are waiting in line. Other shipping companies are waiting in line. And they are going to see the way this company, or the way it pans out, then they are going to equally launch their attack.
Yes, you're correct that other shipping companies will follow suit, because it's not just that French company that will increase their own charges. It's just one that has started, maybe one of the very big ones. You have others follow suit. So what you have now is to be an increase of cost across board. So since the MPA has imposed a 15% tariff and you have shipping companies increasing their cost, you have clearing agents too that will transfer that cost to the goods. So what it means is that we're talking about imported goods being expensive. We're going to have them more expensive. You suggested that there should be classification so that some goods that we can that are essential, we can take the tariff off them to make it available and cheap. While for those that we have substitutes locally, they can actually be increased. You know, going by the Trump protectionism policy, America first, keeping Nigeria first. But we know it's protectionism. But the point here is this: we do not even know exactly the type of goods that we import. I say that because we tend to import almost everything. If we're importing toothpick, it means that everything we use we import. So I don't know how the customs is going to do that, but I think 15% is on the high side. Yes, for 32 years, they did not increase tariff, but going 15% is also high. And the shipping companies, too, that have enjoyed this low tariff for years, 32 years, to just jump off to actually increasing theirs. Well, I do not know the level to which they have also increased theirs, but maybe if there had been a marginal increase, there would be this outcry. But we also know that sometimes when there's marginal increase too, we also have people complaining as if the increase has been so much because they're thinking about how much of their profit that will cut out. But there's a lot that needs to be done with the marine industry, because look at it. A lot of the shipping companies are foreign shipping companies. And they also want to pull out their investment.
Yeah, that's the exact point. That's the exact point. Sometime 3 years ago, Joe Biden was visibly crying how Europe was making life miserable for the entire globe post-COVID because of the supply chain disruption that happened with COVID. And these shipping companies sat down in Europe and ripped off the entire world. In short, in his word, the profit that these companies had never made since they were set up till COVID, they made in one single year. So you can understand when Donald Trump is pointing finger at Europe, because the top 4 shipping lines that operate globally, they are from Europe. And then you have China, where you used to hire a 20-foot container for $4,000. Today, it's over $20,000. And they are complaining about a 15% increase in there, and that's why they are raising their fare. So you can understand that every country or geopolitics that hear them ranting, shouting, they also have a way of contributing to the collective suffering and poverty that is going on in the world. In short, as a matter of fact, Biden was appealing to the shipping companies in Europe to loosen the hangman's noose that was on the global economy. Because all the containers belong to them, all the ships are around them. So they determine who gets what ship and at what level they can get it. And therefore, they were able to manipulate the market that prices are unbearable globally, not just in the country alone. And this is what happened when, of course, there's monopoly and then excess of discretion, and the entire people pay the huge price. It's quite unfortunate.
Okay, let's take a look at this particular shipping company that clearing agents are complaining about it increasing charges. They are actually one of the top 3 shipping companies operating in Nigeria. So you have Maersk, you have MSC, and CMA CGM.
That's the company.
Yes. So they're actually among the top 3 shipping companies.
All three are European companies.
All European companies. In fact, if you go through the list of the biggest shipping companies operating in Nigeria, for the first 7, you wouldn't find a local shipping company there. That's a challenge. And the blue and marine economy that Nigeria is developing, we need to turn attention to that. How we manage it, because we can't leave shipping to foreigners. We can't leave shipping to foreign companies. It will be more about profit than about service and profit. There has to be a balance in between.
Yes. Okay. So, when I looked at this situation, the former governor of Osun State that is currently heading that the Ministry of Maritime and Marine Economy, Blue Economy, Adegboyega Oyetola, in aspect of policy direction, they need to paint it very clearly. Now, if we have the top 7 or probably the top 10 shipping companies that are in Nigeria are not Nigerian companies. So, by way of policy, we must begin to have a conversation with our shipping companies, local shipping companies. What prevents or what is the challenge they encounter from operating efficiently at that level to be somewhat competitive with these foreign companies? Because this is a huge ripoff. I'm saying that because just the way the Sanusi administration, or as the CBN governor, where we carried out an activity and exercise to bail out the banks, maybe the government could begin to look at issues like that. Well, I don't think this administration might want to go that way because of its drive for revenue. However, we should begin to look at that aspect. What way can the government assist our local shipping companies to make them competitive, to stand shoulder to shoulder, head to head with these foreign shipping companies? And when they do that, so that when we are imposing tariffs and tariff at a different level on the foreign shipping companies, then we are imposing tax on a different level at the local shipping companies, so that we can allow the local shipping companies breathe, because we believe they are here not only to make money. Of course, that they are going to make money, but they also have a responsibility by way of support of government to serve the populace of Nigerians. And that is what the government must begin to look at, so that we can create a level playing field for both the local and the foreign shipping companies.
Yeah, but take it this way. And I think that's what I was saying to Engineer Alex just now. I am immobilized completely. See, it is to look at where we are coming from. Recently, President Obasanjo was saying, as military head of states, before the national shipping line was established, he placed an order for 19 ships.
During his administration?
In 1978.
Oh.
19 ships to make the fleet up to 24 Nigerian-owned ships. They are plying the waters. And he took delivery of some of these new ships, and then Shagari took delivery of the remaining. So which means by 1983, we had over 24 ships that were plying our water, going to China and everywhere in the world. And when he came back to office in 1999, that shipping line has been liquidated. Just the way the airways was liquidated. Just the way NITER was liquidated. Just the way NEPA was liquidated. The same way we are liquidating gradually NNPCL. So it's troubling for me as a person. Because we are looking at other people who are running shipping lines and they are making profit. Why was our own not making profit?
24 ships.
You know, when you say it, Sometimes it seems as if they just vanish into thin
Like
air.
pin, like needles.
Something happened year after year. Who was monitoring? Who was holding those in charge accountable?
Nobody. You see, but that is it, because that was why I was asking Alex just now. Except that we are expecting that some of the ruling elite are going to commit class suicide to be able to bring about true reform that will transform the system. And if we are not expecting a class suicide, then definitely we must be looking for a revolution from the under. Because the way things are here, I said it, somebody who was a major player in the Nigerian Airways, he was telling me a story. He said, this is not a joke. Somebody will order and say, my girlfriend is traveling to London. A Nigerian Airway will go and drop the girl in London and then fly back empty.
Okay, so...
And then we are buying aviation, petrol, and all this. And just the fact that somebody have this eagle. If you have read From Third World to First World by Lee Kuan Yew, his encounter with the Commonwealth states. And I saw that African nations were heading nowhere. And I see from 1963 to date, we have not changed. We have operated at the same frequency, at the same level, that those who seek to be the leaders of the people are not really there with the intention to transforming the life of the people, but rather to enslave them and disempower them.
Okay, so one thing, when you mentioned this, this like a story, it's like a movie. Yeah.
Because of
24 ships. One administration was in place. 24
Yeah.
ships. 24. Then they went systematically liquidated. And if you look at it very closely, during the liquidation, they will be sold to the cronies of the persons who were in government during those period of time. So it was given to themselves. So recently we've been hearing issues and stories how Nigerian Navy have been building building ships in the country. And we are celebrating them. The Navy, in doing that, government should bring them into shipping, because this is business, and the Navy must be empowered to do that. Because if we can build locally, using local technology, and probably with the inclusion of some level of foreign technology and manpower to build ship, then we should deploy them to use. Not because if such ship that will be built by the Nigerian Navy will be equipped in such a way, to be efficient and to also be battle ready, to combat piracy and other theft on the IC. So it should be equipped for also business. Whilst it is known that the kind of ship the Nigerian Navy will build will be, systematically equipped for just security purposes to secure the Nigerian territorial waters and its region, we should look beyond that to make sure we bring the Navy into business. And of course, it's not long, 1979, like you said, 1983. We can do a backward audit of the whole system.
Can I help you with
because even though we cannot be an effort in futility.
Let me help you with the movie further. President Obasanjo gave...
So this is like season 2, right?
Season 2.
Okay.
Gave an example that one of those ships was sold for $500,000 to build the Oron Navy Training School.
$500,000.
So when they finished building the Navy School, so they needed a ship
to train the Navy students.
I know where this is going.
And this,
so they needed a ship for the training.
They had to hire.
That same ship they sold for $500,000. They went to buy it for $2 million.
Wow. This is really a movie.
And used another $1.5 million to refurbish it.
So, when we talk about governance and the way certain projects are, selected, what informs the decision of the projects to embark on per time? Adequate planning, adequate consultation with stakeholders. In fact, I think we need to even redefine who are stakeholders for every given project that we want to do. If we put serious thought into how we plan for projects, what we want to do per time, I don't think such an error would have been made. There would have been consideration. By the time we're done building this Navy school, we would definitely need a ship. So what ship would we have at that particular time? So that thought would have made provision to say, okay, we're not selling, perhaps we want to lease. And so the lease agreement would be such that we would also have use of this for a certain time. And so maybe that determines the fee charge for charge the leaser.
Yeah, but
So,
you see, these are
when we sell, and later on, you didn't think that after building the school, you would need a ship. You then needed a ship. You are going back to rebuy. And that person made 4 times the amount
you need 1.5
So
million.
it goes to show that we don't plan. We just
to
do
make
things.
it seaworthy.
We just
And
do
they said
things.
1 month after that vessel entered into the water in 1999, when Obasanjo has become president, the ship was arrested for being not seaworthy. And a fine of $1 million was imposed on the ship.
That's preposterous. Now, look.
Now, what does this suggest to you?
It's a game.
Beyond the game.
No,
it's a well-planned
no, it is
game.
It is negligence.
Call it game.
It is
No, what I mean
negligence.
by a game,
Free.
fraud. That's what I mean by a game is
Let's call it by that
fraud.
name. This is fraud.
It is-
Because the issue here is the fact that, and this is what people are talking about, the value system of our people. And when people make this very dirty money, we give them front row in the mosque, we give them front row in the church, we give them chieftaincy title in our villages, and we are celebrating people who are making life miserable for the larger majority of the poor.
You know that because Nigerians sometimes don't even know of the assets that the state owns, it is very easy to dispose of those assets without the right questions being asked by people. So how was it even known, really, by Nigerians that we had that much assets on our waterways? We didn't even know. So when these assets are being disposed of,
Maybe you were too young to know.
Andre is asking now that we should go back in time, go back to ask what happened in 1979. I said that would be an effort in futility
This
because
season 3.
we are even asking about what happened last year.
Oh
And we're
my
seeing
God.
how difficult it is to
is,
provide
yeah.
answers,
Okay, so-
how difficult it is to have the books.
Yes.
This is what I'm saying, that we do not, a lot of things are shrouded in secrecy, information is not out there. So you would not even find that accountability. And even when the questions are asked, it just becomes a front-burning issue for a while. After a time, another matter comes up, and that is swept under the carpet. Because I'm very sure that at the time that it was noticed that these 24 ships disappeared, or maybe they evaporated, questions were asked. But maybe investigation panels were set up. After a while, nobody asked questions further. We move on to something else. Now we are in this situation where the shipping industry is being run majorly by international players. How do we salvage that situation? You know how expensive it is right now to own a ship. And what that means is that we are leaving our waterways to international players. It means that import and export industry is left at the mercy of these players because they handle cargo. They handle whatever moves in and moves out of the country. Now, until we begin to see that as a challenge and begin to invest in it, yeah, we will just be here talking.
Okay, so the one other thing that I want to bring to our attention is this. In the South China Sea, the United States is having a very serious diplomatic row with China because Beijing, then you talk about some other all countries that are contiguous to China, and China dominated the environment. It has built fleets. In fact, it built a fleet on the sea that a very heavy aircraft can land on it. Different aircraft can land on it. So China is, promoting its dominance on that South China Sea when it comes to business, trade, and every other thing. And the United States has that to contend with. Coming back to Nigeria, and I want to refer back to the quote-unquote season 2 movie that Dr. painted.
This is a bad movie.
No, no.
Very
So
bad
the thing
movie.
is this. It is a well-planned... You think Nigerian politicians are not smart? They are one of the smartest in the world.
So
it is
that kind of smartness
is a
anti-progress.
well-planned,
No.
organized, and executed fraud. The reason is they know they're going to build that school. I mentioned the other day that, look, a bank came and built an Olympic standard swimming pool in the university where I was then when I was in school. They built it and they used corporate social responsibility services to cover that. That means they will be exempted. They could be exempted from tax and other things for a given period of time. We should have adopted that strategy if we wanted to build a naval school for new intakes into that and just keep the ship as a very, very critical asset. Now, the thing is, when they sell that ship, things that did not put into consideration, they are not just selling the body of the ship, they are selling technology, they are selling national asset, they are giving away some of the information that we must have acquired into that completely away. And I doubt if that other country refurbished it, it came back for 2 million. Then we paid another 1.5 million. So it
was still fine, not being seaworthy. So it means that at the point of purchase, due diligence was also not done to ascertain the seaworthiness.
Nigeria is giving herself away.
Obasanjo was being, he said it was like he was being scammed by those who were also saying the thing was not seaworthy and they needed 1 million. And so he said he decided to gift them the ship.
So that he doesn't.
That we don't need it now. So at least we have spent so much money and it's not seaworthy. We don't need it. So you can just have it. And say eventually they return the ship. It gives you an idea. We just got saved from P&ID case that would have cost Nigeria over $9 billion for 100 million naira taken by a lady to sign a deal on behalf of the government, even when the president was sick. And those documents were forged. And then we came back into it, and we get into trouble. You see, when you look at where we are coming from as a country, should we wonder how we got here? Take, for example, when Jack Conde thought about the rail line in Lagos, sign it off to a French company to build for us. And it was to come. And then the coup happened in 1983. That contract was cancelled. Lagos State government was made to pay the full sum of the contract to the French company without putting a single iron on the ground. So, since independence that we have started to govern ourselves, we have been bleeding as a country. Since 1960, we have been bleeding as a country. And this is really the things that worries me. And a lot of people enjoy this bleeding.
Because they are vampires.
And they are enjoying it. And we are seeing the host of trouble that has come upon us. That is now we are thinking we don't have infrastructure, we don't have good road. It was even rumored at a certain point that one military president in Nigeria said that he didn't know why Nigeria has not collapsed. Because of the way they were pillaging the entire system. And I think, like Engineer Les was suggesting, maybe we need foreign help.
That foreign help is where the problem is. You would have expected that when we ask for external auditors, or even when a firm asks for external auditors, you will get the solution because they would not actually cover up truth. But who are the people inviting the foreign helpers or the people who bring the help. What is the deal on the table before they come in? What are they told to do? Are they allowed to work independently? So that is the question. Because there is still much interference in the foreign help, you won't get it. No, it is said that when the person who has stolen something and hidden it helps you find it, you won't know where it is. Because it will always divert your attention away from where it is hidden. So if it is those who have hidden it that we are asking to get us foreign help, then we should forget about it because we won't get to the root of the matter.
Seeking for foreign help would be like, giving ourselves away as a sovereign nation, that we're a people that cannot handle our own problem. And that insult is on a global level and a global scale. So we shouldn't even be thinking or talking about foreign help. We should start asking questions. Now, recently, the government, when we talk about national census, and they submitted the money to the president.
942 billion naira.
He said, no, we are going to use core members. Yes, we are going to use core members, but we're still going to pay the core members.
Yes.
We also need to have that in mind. We're not
but
going to use them for free.
Not as much as we would pay staff.
So we should start looking inside. A lot of the problems that we can solve by looking inside. Because we talk about 50.8 billion promises that have been made for foreign FDIs, foreign direct investments that we are looking forward for it to come. And most of these companies, they came in and they explored the environment. And they are looking at what kind of raw materials they can lay their hands on that they can use to recoup their investment, that they can negotiate with the government to get from. So if they are going to do that, let's do the same, but let's give conditions. Come here and build your factory. Come here and build. Don't come here and just carry our
wrapping up on the core issue now, which is the increase in charges by shipping company, which I believe other shipping companies would also do because they want to make up what they're giving out in imports in the port tariff to the NPA. What do we suggest should be done at this point? Should there be a reduction in port tariff so that shipping companies can also reduce their charges? How do we go about this? Because we know that the effect of this is going to be widespread.
Well, I just feel that we have found ourselves in a tight corner as a people.
Very tight corner.
And just for the Nigerian government to our regulators to also see how to mediate these issues. And since they've been regulators also to see how to put their feet on the ground to determine how much further money people are charged, at least if we have to find some reprieve in what the cost of import is to our environment. And I think for me, it's just that appeal.
Okay. So I think that, yes, there's need for regulation. So when there is an increase in tariff and then the operators want to also increase their charges, it should be commensurate. So if there's maybe a marginal increase on one hand, then the increase as well, on the other hand, should be marginal. It should not be astronomical, on the other hand, compounding the issues. So I think it's for the NPA, it's for the port authorities, customs have actually suspended that firm board charge of 4% that they wanted to implement. So if it means us coming to a round table, maybe this time we can have any shape of table to address these issues, because it is not just importers that would be affected when these shipping companies increase their charges. Even exporters would have a challenge with that, and we do not want to be faced with these challenges. We're talking about reducing inflation. When the prices of goods and services increase, then of course you know that inflation will keep increasing. So let's do what is possible at this point in time to do. But basically, the government needs to look at how Nigeria can encourage local shipping companies. We cannot leave a large percentage of the shipping industry to international players. No country does that. Any country that does that does so at its own risk.